Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this event focused on youth mental health from the Centre for Conscious Awareness Canada. My name is Elizabeth Webster. I am the event coordinator for this event surrounding the power of physical, emotional, and mental health. I'm in my third year at Western for synthetic biology, and I have a strong dedication for promoting mental health awareness and support to students. And the ability to balance your physical, emotional, and mental health is something that I strive to achieve every day.
Hi guys, my name is Amelia Nicholls and I'm the marketing specialist for this event. I'm a third year criminology and media tech student at Western, and I am passionate about promoting healthy living and how to care for oneself. Knowing that there is an interdependent relationship between mental and physical health, I think is the first step to living a healthy life. And we're here today to give you guys pointers on how to do that. We want to start our event by thanking our sponsors and partners for this event. Their invaluable support has made this event possible, and we are truly grateful for their partnership. So we want to specifically thank Exercises Medicine at Western, Ottawa's official pre-pharmacy club, Concordia Undergraduate Psychology Association, Jack.org Laurentian University, STEM Relief Club at the University of Guelph, Youth Helping Youth BC, Youth for Youth Canada, and MedGames.
And these are also our other supporters from sharing our event across platforms, and we'd like to give a huge shout out to them for constantly supporting us. So thank you guys. I'd like to give a little introduction about the Centre for Conscious Awareness Canada. We are a registered charity as of 2010, founded by Srinivas Arka. Srinivas Arka is a world-renowned philosopher, inspirational speaker, and author. He is known for his work serving communities around the world. Highly regarded for his lectures, workshops, and books, his work has inspired people around the world to explore and develop their intuitive awareness and help them achieve a more balanced and fulfilling life. Center for Conscious Awareness is focused on teaching Arka Dhyana intuitive meditation to the public with a focus on youths and seniors. We are able to hold these types of events and programs surrounding mental health, helping people raise their conscious awareness and realize their innate positive potential, role, responsibility, and unique meaning.
So next, we're going to go over the topics for today's presentation. So starting out, we'll be hearing from Dr. Shillington, who's a Western alumni, and she's going to be talking about belonging, compassion, kindness, and their associations with mental health. And then we'll be hearing from Kelsey Russell-Murray on the importance of nutrition for students and some nutritional tips that she has for students. And then next we'll be hearing from Srinivas Arka, the founder of CCA, to discuss the balance that we're searching for. And we'll be going through a brief meditation demonstration run by the directors of the charity. And finally, a quick Kahoot where the lucky winner can win one of Srinivas's books as a prize.
We're going to start with Katie Shillington. She is a Western alumnus who is currently residing in California, attending the University of California, San Diego for research surrounding resilience-promoting behaviors towards positive mental health.
Everyone, I am really excited to be sharing my talk with you today on kindness, compassion, and belonging, an inclusive approach to promoting positive mental health among university students. So a little bit about me, which you got a brief intro leading me in here, but I'll expand a little bit more. So I am a postdoctoral scholar at the Center for Empathy and Social Justice and Human Health at UC San Diego. So I'm currently living in sunny California. I'm also an adjunct professor in the Department of Psychology at Wilfrid Laurier University. And as mentioned, I am a Western University alumni. So I did my undergrad, master's, and PhD all at Western. I research resilience-promoting behaviors toward positive mental health, and these include things like kindness, compassion, prosocial behavior, and coping strategies during challenging times, which is what I'm going to be talking with you all today about. I'm also an avid runner and spin enthusiast and a dog mom. So if you can hear or see my dog in the background, I apologize, but she should be pretty good. All right, so we'll get started here. So to start off, as a student, I'm curious, what are some examples of stressors in your lives? And this is where I might get Amelia or Elizabeth to let me know, either populate it in the chat. What are some examples of stressors in your lives?
I mean, I can start saying, as I am a student, while we wait for some, comments to come in. Huge one is academic stress. I mean, I think we all stress over our grades, our marks, and then trying to balance this sort of in-between lifestyle of wanting to get good grades, but also getting enough sleep at night.
Absolutely. So your academics, when you have deadlines coming up, whether it be stressors associated with assignments, and then having to navigate that balance among or between school and your other activities in everyday life, for sure. Any other thoughts from anyone else in terms of some?
We got another one saying finances.
Absolutely. So finances are another huge stressor among students and the general population, but having to pay for things like tuition, rent, utilities, all of those basic necessities that come with being a student, for sure.
Yeah, we got another one from Vince, who said work-life balance.
Work-life balance, absolutely. That was something that I struggled with for sure in my studies, and especially in undergrad. Having that, knowing when to work or when to study, and also wanting to balance that with spending time with friends or family, or going out for dinner. Absolutely. So for the sake of time, I'm going to move to the next screen here, my next slide. So as you've noted, there are several sources of stress for students, and many of the sources that you listed can fall into these categories on the screen here. This list is not exhaustive, but it provides an overview on some of the common sources of stress, including major life changes, such as moving out, transitioning to post-secondary school, and relationship changes. Have you ever had one of those days where you're late for school, it's raining, and you miss the bus, only for you to make it to class and realize that you left your laptop at home? These are examples of minor problems or daily hassles that can be a great source of stress to many people. Post-secondary stressors are another common source of stress and can include things like test anxiety, assignment deadlines, worries about the future, and finances, as you all mentioned. If you're like me, you might not be the most comfortable in social situations. While social networks can help you cope with stress, they can also become a stressor in itself, especially when we consider minority populations who may feel pressure to assimilate into mainstream society. In addition to social stressors, many folks place internal stressors on themselves, such as the pressure to achieve certain goals. Setting goals is a great strategy to hold yourself accountable, but unrealistic expectations can be a significant source of stress and can damage one's self-esteem. While post-secondary students experience heightened levels of stress compared to the general population, underrepresented minority students experience additional stressors that can exacerbate pre-existing mental health problems and introduce new concerns. As we've discussed, post-secondary students often have to navigate academic, social, and financial challenges, all of which may contribute to the mental health crisis we see in educational settings. However, minority students have a history of marginalization and oppression and often exist in a more stressful environment compared to the general post-secondary student population. Minority students are exposed to racial stressors, including microaggressions and discrimination, and often encounter these stressors in the context of their role as a student. Additionally, gender diverse students, including transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks, are at an increased risk for experiencing harassment and victimization. Such stressors can lead to poor mental health outcomes for minority students, including psychological distress and increased depression and anxiety. As such, finding ways to promote positive mental health and well-being among post-secondary students, including those who are minoritized, is critical. One way to achieve this might be through creating environments that are grounded in practices of kindness and compassion and foster a sense of belonging. Belongingness can be characterized by the feeling that one is valued, needed, accepted, and that one quote-unquote fits in a particular system or environment. Belongingness has been linked to outcomes in higher education, including academic and mental health outcomes, such as increased self-esteem, life satisfaction, and psychological well-being. Additionally, a sense of belonging among minority communities has been linked to both positive mental and physical health outcomes. Specifically, a higher sense of belonging has been shown to be associated with stronger intentions to persist among Black undergraduate students, higher grades among international students, and stronger academic engagement and lower emotional distress among graduate students. Moreover, intentionally creating spaces wherein students feel a sense of belonging can lower the overall impact of minority stress experiences. So what? How do we create inclusive spaces so students like you feel that sense of belonging? Well, I want you to consider belonging like a recipe. While I don't consider myself much of a baker, I do know that baking is extremely precise, such that if you don't follow the recipe as planned, your bread, cake, cookies, or whatever recipe that you're making might not turn out. The science of baking can also be applied to the science of belonging. In order for students like you to flourish and to feel a sense of belonging, certain ingredients are needed, two of which we're going to talk about in greater detail today: kindness and compassion. One evidence-based strategy for building psychosocial resilience and belonging during times of stress is the practice of compassion. Compassion involves recognizing suffering, perceiving that suffering as a part of a larger shared human experience, and directing kindness towards it. Researchers have described two forms of compassion: self-compassion and compassion towards others, which is what we're going to focus on today. Compassion for others can act as a motivator for prosociality, or kindness, toward individuals who need emotional or practical support. It can therefore promote a sense of social connectedness and help to ensure that individuals' most basic needs will be met. Practicing compassion can also help to reduce perceived stress and increase individuals' positive affect or mood, ultimately contributing to an environment that fosters a sense of belonging. Kindness and compassion work in tandem to contribute to belongingness in academic environments. Kindness involves engaging in voluntary prosocial acts driven by compassion or concern for others, and can be understood as actions intended to benefit others. While it might appear that the person engaging in the kind act is making a sacrifice so that the recipient can benefit, research has shown that this is not the case. In fact, people who engage in acts of kindness experience greater happiness, satisfaction, and self-worth, and have better health. Positive outcomes such as these have also been established in post-secondary students. For example, my colleagues and I conducted a study wherein we asked undergraduate and graduate students to engage in 3 acts of kindness each day for 1 month. And we found that as a result of the intervention, participants experienced increased resilience, reduced social anxiety and negative mood, and described improvements in their overall positive mood. It's evident that engaging in acts of kindness has psychological benefits. However, what many people don't know is that kindness has also been associated with positive physical health outcomes. Kindness has been linked to increases in oxytocin, which is occasionally referred to as the love hormone, and can aid in lowering blood pressure and improving your overall heart health. Kindness can also increase one's energy and happiness. A study found that people who engaged in altruistic behaviors were happier compared to those who did not engage in altruism or kindness. It's also associated with increases in one's lifespan, and people who engage in kind acts tend to experience fewer aches and pains. A fun fact is that giving help to others protects overall heart health twice as much as aspirin protects against heart disease. According to research, when you're kind to another person, your brain's pleasure and reward systems essentially light up, and this phenomenon is called the helper's high. And like most medical antidepressants, kindness stimulates the production of serotonin, that feel-good chemical in your brain that can heal your wounds, calm you down, and make you happy. Engaging in acts of kindness also produces endorphins that are the brain's natural painkiller. Perpetually kind people also have 23% less cortisol, which is known as the stress hormone, and they tend to age slower than the average population. And lastly, kindness has been associated with decreases in anxiety and depression, as we've talked about. So next time you're feeling stressed or school is weighing you down, consider the recipe for belonging. Practices of kindness and compassion can go a long way in fostering belonging for you and your peers. And it's important to remember, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Thank you.
I was wondering if there are any sort of particular forms of kindness that have been found especially effective in, promoting these positive mental health outcomes.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in my longer version of this talk or in other talks I've given, I talk about how kindness and acts of kindness is individually dependent. So this means that what might be an easy act of kindness for me or a small act of kindness for me that might not benefit me as much might be considered a more difficult or larger act of kindness for someone else. So to date, there isn't really a quote unquote, list of like, if you do these acts of kindness, you're going to get the most bang for your buck or the most benefit, because it is very individual dependent. So if somebody who perhaps isn't as comfortable in social situations, donating money, for example, to a homeless person on the street, which is a form of an act of kindness, might be really hard for them if that interaction is causing them anxiety, versus someone else might do this without thinking about it. So it really depends on the individual and their personal preferences, but it's good to kind of play around with it and see what is perhaps most beneficial for you individually.
Right, that makes sense. I can see how something might be complementary to someone and then maybe not so much to another individual. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just wondering about one of your slides when you said kindness decreases pain. Could you elaborate a bit more on that one?
Yeah, so that's work that's been done by other researchers in the field. So my work doesn't particularly look at the physical health outcomes as much, but what we do know is that engaging in acts of kindness can protect against heart disease. It can decrease pain in your body. The exact science of it I can't speak to, but I'd be happy to provide you with the reference if you want to take a look at it in greater detail. But the underlying theme is that we know that people might assume that, engaging in kindness or compassion or experiencing belonging has mental health benefits, but it has also been shown to have these physical health benefits, which is cool. So it's not to say, if you have a headache, to go do an act of kindness and hopefully it will go away. Like maybe it will, but it's certainly just a way where we see those physical health outcomes as well.
Okay, right. Thank you. And we did have, it was more of a statement from one of our viewers, but she says volunteering is also an act of kindness.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of work in the fields where a lot of the actual kindness interventions involve a form of volunteering. So that for sure can be an act of kindness. And, we can get into the nitty gritty of it, where there's acts of kindness towards others, there's acts of kindness towards the self, but volunteering is definitely a form of an act of kindness towards others. And so if you're someone who volunteers, you might reap those benefits and know firsthand the experience of how good that can feel.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, sorry. There's one more. It says, which do you think it benefits more, mental or physical?
That's a hard question for me to answer. I mean, that's a really great a study question for a researcher to do a future study on, to see, you know, what perhaps has most benefits. You're giving me some good ideas. I personally can, from my own experience, I've found that it benefits my mental health more than it does, I would say, my physical health, or perhaps I'm just not as aware of the benefits to my physical health as much as I am with regards to my mental health. And so I would say that's more of what I notice at the forefront when I'm engaging in kindness, or when I reflect upon times where I have engaged in kindness. So I think that it's a good idea for a future study to weigh the actual, you know, quantitative, look at the quantitative benefits on both spectrums, or both sides of the spectrum. But I can speak from my personal experience, and I would say more mental health benefits. And there's certainly more resources and references in the literature to support the mental health benefits as opposed to the physical. There's just less of those out there, less research being done.
Right. Thank you. We had one more comment. I think it was regarding the kindness to pain, or like the mental perceptions on pain. And one person says, I have no prior knowledge of this, but it is true. I was involved in an accident, but I don't feel the pain for the amount of damage that was done to my body.
Wow, that's a good perspective. So that's really, thanks so much for sharing that, and you know, providing an application for the work that we've talked about today.